You were dismissed from 1 minute to the next.
Mr. Melee came over, said I wasn't needed no more, and that was that.
It's disgraceful.
So what's next for the Crawleys in Downton Abbey 3? If we could see into the future, we might get a sneak peek at what's in store, but for now, we'll stick to what we do know. While Downton Abbey: A New Era didn't wrap up the long-running story, it definitely left things open for another sequel, though sadly, without Maggie Smith as Lady Violet. This time, the new movie will have to tackle a major historical event, and here's everything we know so far about what's coming. Let's start with what we know about the Crawleys' future in Downton Abbey 3. Downton Abbey: A New Era didn't wrap up the saga, but instead left things wide open for another sequel, though sadly, without Maggie Smith returning as Lady Violet. As Cora reflected, the Crawley family seems to have left behind their more chaotic years and are all in pretty good places now. Lady Mary might be juggling the stress of running Downton while her husband is off and away, but she knows her children with Matthew and Henry are secure for the future. Lady Edith, now the Marchioness of Hexham, is happy with Bertie, and their children's futures are financially solid. Tom Branson and Lucy are clearly in love and set to inherit Lady Maud's Brumpton estate, while Violet made sure Sibby, Tom, and Sybil's daughter would inherit the villa in the south of France. Lady Isabel is also happily settled, married to Lord Merton. With Downton Abbey 3 confirmed, the Crawleys and their dedicated staff will step into the 1930s. It's likely we'll see more focus on George, Sibby, and Edith's daughter, Marigold, as the eldest of the Crawley cousins. Julian Fellowes, the creator of Downton Abbey, will also need to dream up another reason to bring outsiders into the estate, just like he did with the royal visit and the film crew in the first 2 movies.
I found Peg in this room, and my paper knife is gone. He comes into the room again, and a very valuable piece of Japanese nitsuki is missing.
Things.
The final shot of A New Era made it clear that Lady Violet's legacy will live on, and the Crawley family, now welcoming Tom and Lucy's new baby, are united and ready to face whatever the future holds. As we know, THR recently confirmed that Downton Abbey 3 is set to hit theaters on September 12, 2025. Just like its predecessors, this movie will enjoy a full theatrical release, with Focus Features handling the domestic side and Universal Pictures International taking care of the overseas rollout. Fans can expect many familiar faces from the Downton Abbey series and movies to return. However, one major absence is Maggie Smith, who said her final goodbye as the Dowager Countess in A New Era. While Matthew Goode wasn't able to reprise his role as Mary's husband Henry Talbot in the last film, there's still a possibility he could make an appearance in Downton Abbey 3. There's also a lot of hope from fans that Lily James will return as Lady Rose, and maybe this film will finally make that happen. Plus, there's an exciting addition to the cast, Paul Giamatti, who will be reprising his role as the free-spirited Levinson from the TV series. That said, the upcoming Downton Abbey movie will have to face head-on the significant historical event of the Great Depression. One of the things that always sets Downton Abbey apart is how it weaves real history into the lives of the Crawley family. From the sinking of the Titanic in 1912 to World War I and the Roaring Twenties, the series has always been closely tied to major moments in history. As we move into the 1930s with Downton Abbey 3, the looming shadow of the Great Depression becomes unavoidable. The previous film, Downton Abbey: A New Era, wrapped up in 1929, just before the Depression hit, meaning this next movie will likely show how the Crawleys handle this devastating economic downturn. While the filmmakers will no doubt have some creative flexibility in how they portray the Great Depression's effects on the Crawley family, Downton Abbey has always prided itself on historical accuracy, so we can expect them to stay true to the reality of the era. The Great Depression didn't just affect America, it also had a profound impact on the UK, and given the Crawley family's connections to the US, it's likely this global crisis will ripple through their lives. The first 2 films already set up the possibility of financial struggles, particularly with Lady Mary Crawley expressing concerns about whether their grand house could survive in the modern world. Now, with the financial crash of the 1930s, those fears might turn into reality. It's not just a matter of being perceived as old-fashioned, they could be facing a true financial crisis. What's especially sad about this potential turn of events is the impact it could have on the beloved staff at Downton Abbey. The Crawleys may have to let go of their luxurious lifestyle, but for the servants, this would be even more devastating. Without their jobs, their survival is at risk, and in the middle of a financial crisis, finding new employment could be nearly impossible. Many wealthy families couldn't afford to keep their staff during the Depression, and this could be the fate that awaits the Crawleys employees in Downton Abbey 3. The Crawley family might be able to adjust and survive without their grandeur, but the same can't be guaranteed for their staff, making the stakes even higher for everyone at Downton Abbey as the Great Depression rolls in. Besides the looming impact of the Great Depression, Downton Abbey 3 could also delve into more personal storylines, including the much-anticipated romance between Mrs. Patmore and Mr. Mason. With most of Downton's servants already settled down, like Anna and John Bates, it's time for Mrs. Patmore, the long-serving cook, to get her own happy ending. Fans of the series will remember that Mrs. Patmore and Mr. Mason, Daisy's former father-in-law, showed interest in each other during the Downton Abbey TV series. However, their flirtation never quite developed into anything more. In the last film, Daisy and her husband Andy helped reignite the spark between them, encouraging Mr. Mason to move on from his late wife and open his heart to Mrs. Patmore. One of the roadblocks in their potential relationship was Mr. Mason's old-fashioned views, specifically his concern that it wouldn't be proper for him to move in with Mrs. Patmore and be supported by her. However, in a heartwarming scene, all it took was a glass of whiskey and a heartfelt conversation from Mrs. Patmore to convince Mr. Mason otherwise. This sets up the possibility for Mrs. Patmore to finally find happiness and companionship. This storyline could be a refreshing and heartening subplot in Downton Abbey 3, as it not only allows Mrs. Patmore to step into a new chapter of her life, but also symbolizes a passing of the torch. With Daisy and Andy ready to take full ownership of the farm, Mrs. Patmore can embrace a more personal future with Mr. Mason. It's a feel-good moment that offers a bit of joy amid the heavier historical challenges the Crawleys will face in the upcoming film. The release date for Downton Abbey 3 has finally been revealed, and while audiences will have to wait until September 12, 2025, the anticipation is building. The film will dive deep into how the Crawleys and their staff navigate the Great Depression, a time that could bring significant hardship. There's a chance the film could take a more tragic route, as history suggests, but there's still hope that the beloved characters and Downton Abbey itself will weather the storm. One thing's for sure, though, it won't be an easy journey. With the franchise's history of remarkable storytelling, Downton Abbey 3 promises to provide a fitting conclusion for the Crawleys, their loyal staff, and the iconic estate. Whether it's a bittersweet ending or one with hope, we're confident that the final movie will perfectly wrap up this long-running saga. And that's a wrap for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next one. Don't forget, we always welcome your suggestions for future videos, so drop them in the comments below. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to like, share, and subscribe.